What's going on YouTube? Welcome to the Excelsior 2 class update video, part 2. I'm Zero Elite and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me support the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today, I'm going to be showing you guys where I'm at on the build and also my reference material and my overall plan of what I'm going to be doing. Because I've had a couple of people asking me as far as a couple of the minor changes that I made, so I thought that this would be a good opportunity to actually talk about that. Now, one of the main issues that I have with the Excelsior 2 class is that there's a lot of 23rd century technology that's referenced in the design. Well, not a lot, but a little bit. And look, you have to consider this, that 23rd century tech compared to where Picard Season 3 is, it's over 120 years old. It doesn't make any sense why Starfleet would revert to that era of technology. There's no logical reason for it. So, because of that, I've decided to make a couple of slight tweaks to the design of the Excelsior 2 class. Namely, removing the impulse deflection crystal. This little piece right here. That's just something, it should not be on the ship. Even when you look at TNG era ships from the Next Generation shows and movies, they don't have this. They've advanced past the point of needing this type of technology on the outside of the ship, so it should not be there. So you can see that on the left side, this is what the Excelsior 2 class looked originally, and these are my modifications to it. The biggest one that I've done here is I've taken the saucer, and instead of going with an oval, we're going with a circle. This is by design. I'm basically trying to take some subtle elements from the original Excelsior and bring them to the Excelsior 2 class. Because one of the issues I had with the original Excelsior is that the lower hull was extremely elongated. They fixed that problem more or less, but then they stretched it out again with the saucer, and I just feel that it just looks a lot better to me. And I've also made some adjustments to the shape of the pylons. They're not going at an angle back and then forward. I thought that looked weird to me. So from a top-down view, they're going straight, and then from the side, when they go upward, they're curving forward just a little bit. The look of the nacelles. Now, the shape of them is going to remain the same, but if you notice my design for my nacelles, it has that long blue strip. It more closely resembles TNG era ships as opposed to bringing it back to the 23rd century Shatner movies. We'll have to see where we get once we get a little bit further along, but I want to maybe add in a couple more things to maybe make the ship a little bit more simplistic to match like a TNG era. But without further ado, let's get into and show you guys where I'm at on the Excelsior. Really excited to show this off. As you guys can see, since I put my last video out, I've made a ton of progress on this build. She's not done yet. There's still some things I need to do. I need to finish building out the engines and also the middle part of the back end of the neck, and then I also need to flesh out where the top area for the bridge. But overall, she is looking awesome. You can see, as promised, I did adjust the shape of the lower hull. It has much more of that arching look that she should have. And I've also made some adjustments to the overall shape of the neck to maybe make it a little bit closer match the reference material from the concept art. Really digging this build so far. And one of the other things I did too, and I did not actually intend to do this originally. So like if you look at the black area on the neck, you're going to notice like when I look at it from angles up or down, it almost has like a blue hue to it going along the black. Now, when I built this ship, originally I was not crazy about the overall look. Even on my final attempt on the neck, I wasn't crazy about the overall shape on it. It didn't have the ribbing. So that was something I wanted to do. So basically what I did to get around this is that I layered it. Added in a couple of layers just to get it stretch out enough so you can really see each row of that ribbing. And what I did, I used blue concrete blocks to keep my template in place. And I had intended to go back and make it black. And I'm going to be honest with you, from this angle, I don't like this spot here. It looks kind of funky. But when you start to zoom up and look at the ship, it almost looks like there's like a blue technology hue like coming out of it, and I actually really dig it. So I'm thinking I might end up keeping it. I don't know yet for sure. I'm still marinating on it, but I really like how this thing has come out so far. See, we've got a deflector dish in. I might have to go in and make some adjustments to it. I will say the deflector dish came out a little bit smaller than what I was originally intending, but again, like, I'm going off the scale of the ship, and I'm trying not to make it look too big. So I don't know if I'm going to end up making the deflector dish any bigger, because if I do, it might mess with the look of the scale of the ship. But what I need to do with the deflector dish, I have to bring it out a little bit more. It kind of goes in too much on this cut here, and it should actually come, maybe the deflector dish itself should come one out from this bottom gray cut line and then go straight up. The one and only thing I don't like about the build so far was when I was making an adjustment to the overall shape from a side profile view of the lower hull. From a side view, it looks fantastic. From a front view, it kind of looks a little bit too pointy. What I could end up doing maybe is adding in a couple, just one layer on each side to kind of smoothen that out a little bit. But I don't know yet, because when I zoom down like this, it doesn't look bad. It's really only from that one angle where it kind of messes with me a little bit. But when you look at it from the side profile here, you start to go along the sides. I mean, it has that perfect shape that I was going for. Really digging that. Because this is the other thing too. I'm really making a point. I don't want to redesign the Excelsior 2 class. I like how she looks. There's just a couple of tweaks here and there that I think should have been added into the ship to make it look a little bit better, namely with the saucer, and then just taking away a couple of 23rd century design cues, but then adding in a couple of TNG era design cues to make the ship really establish that it's within this era. So my goal with this is that when you're coming down and zooming through here, looking through my ships, when you look at Voyager on the other end of the Enterprise D, and then the Enterprise D, and then the Excelsior 2 class, there's no doubt that these ships have come from the same era. That's what I'm going for. But again, I still have a lot of work to do. I have to do some more layering here on the back end of the engines. You can see it if you look at the shadow here, kind of how they arch out, but then when they get back here, they get really narrow and flat. I'm going to have to figure out a pattern that I can update for the back side here with the layering to maybe not make it look as flat back here. So one thing I don't like about them. And then also the cut back here on the lower hull. I have to make an adjustment to this. It needs to come a little bit more inward back here, and it doesn't come as far back. From what I can see in the concept art, it looks like there's actually a couple of shuttle bays in this section here, and then also directly underneath the impulse engines here and here, as well as the lower part of the belly. I'm actually starting to get the idea, based off that concept art, if those are in fact extra shuttle bays. To me, the Excelsior 2 class almost comes off as a carrier of sorts. And I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts are on that. I actually had looked online to see if I can find like the main purpose of this ship. But that was something I started to think about more and more. I was like, you know, Star Trek Nemesis kind of introduced those very, very small fighter craft. into Star Trek kind of for the first time. And that's something that really, made a lot of sense to me. It's like, why would you have these giant ships directly engaging in battle when it would kind of make more sense to have that more realistic approach where you'd have fighters, kind of like Star Wars or Battlestar Galactica, things like that. So to me, with all these extra shuttle bays, the Excelsior 2 class really comes off like a carrier, and I'm tempted to kind of embrace that and actually go in and add in those extra shuttle bays, because pretty much like if I add those in, this whole, more or less, the whole lower half of the ship is pretty much going to be the carrier section. And we can add in a bunch of pods for our small attack craft, and we can design those as well. That's just kind of my thoughts on it. I haven't 100% decided if I'm going to do that. So if you disagree, let me know in the comments section. Let me know why. If you think that's a good idea, but maybe I need to flesh that out a little bit, if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments section. Definitely love hearing from everybody. I did start working on the top section of the saucer here where eventually the bridge is going to go. You can see I added in a couple of layers where basically the placement or the shelf where the bridge will eventually sit. I've added the first layer for that. The next time you guys see this, I don't know if I'm going to do another update video before I put out the tour video. We'll have to wait and see. But it's very likely that this might be the last update video I do on the Excelsior before I just put out the tour episode and then jump right into the actual tutorial process. But I really wanted to get this episode out because when I had my first update video out, I didn't have enough of the ship built, and I probably should have shown some of my reference material to give you guys an idea of the direction that I was going in. I think now that you guys can see it, hopefully you can see where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to do with this. I'm actually really happy with how the ship's looking. Now, I did talk about this in the last update, that if you notice that the Excelsior is going to be longer than the Enterprise D. But it's not going to be as wide and it's not going to be as tall. I did find the lengthened dimensions on the Star Trek wiki, but I couldn't find any visual size comparisons of it at the time that I was 100% sure that that was the size of it. So what I ended up doing was that I just kind of chalked it up that maybe the Excelsior 2 class would be more or less along the same size as a Sovereign. And that was an easy fix at that point, because I was able to find size comparisons from a Sovereign to a Galaxy class, and the Sovereign fits that same criteria of what we have here, where it's longer than the Enterprise D, but it's not as wide and it's not as tall. And I think that works. I don't think that we needed to make this ship any bigger. From every angle, the ship looks great. The only angle that it does, and I will admit that it looks kind of small, is when you look at it from the very, very front view close up. But as you zoom out, you can see it's easier to see the scale, and I'll show you guys exactly what I mean here. Definitely love how this ship is looking so far. This could very well end up being the best build that I've done on Minecraft so far. Yeah, see, when you look at it from here, close up, kind of looks small. But when you start to zoom out, you get a more of the scale of the ship, and you can see the neck a little bit better. And then as you go out, you can see the pylons. Definitely has that look. One of the things too that I was really trying to get into it, looking at the concept art of the Excelsior 2 from a front profile, that the white parts in the neck, really you can see it on each side of this black piece here, and I'm happy with how that came out. That's why the neck is so thick in the back, because it was so important to me to have that same look where you can see those white strips on either side. It just makes the lower part of the ship look so beefy, even though she's not that big. When you think, I mean, it's a big ship, but it's not as big as a Galaxy class as far as overall size of it. She just has the length on her. I actually had not necessarily an issue with it, because I only built out the back end of the neck. I only did like 2 passes on it, but this right here, this was the overall idea that I had and what I wanted to do. I just wasn't sure if that's what I was going to do, if that makes sense. But man, like I love the blending on that, and when this is all said and done, when we have the lower hull of the saucer built in and the upper parts, and we're able to blend all this in and close in the engines as well as the pylons, this ship is going to look pretty good. Not going to lie. But I'm curious to see what you guys think about her. Do you like the updates that I've made so far? Do you agree with my decision making and why I've decided to take out some of that 23rd century references and bring it closer to TNG? Let me know in the comments section. Definitely love hearing from everybody, and love to have a discussion about it. But look, at the end of the day, this is, and I've talked about this too, don't try to be a canon gatekeeper on me here. At the end of the day, these ships, and just my builds in general, is design. I do this for fun because I enjoy it. And you know, these things, they're not real, they're made up. So I'd like to have a little bit of fun with it. And if there's things that I want to update creatively, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? I think for the most part, when I have done this stuff in the past, people have really liked it. So I think that this ship is going to look awesome. The concept art that I was able to do excites me. I think that we're slowly getting there, but we really have a clear representation of just what this thing is actually going to start to look like. And she's very slick. I'll say that. She's very slick. I'm absolutely loving this build. I think I can confidently say this, that I'm sure of it. This is probably going to be the best build I've ever done. But I think that's going to do it for me today. I just want to thank you all again for tuning into today's episode. And if you did enjoy this content, help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And let me know your thoughts below. But anyway, I hope everybody has a happy and safe week, and I'll catch you in the next episode. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Let me know in the comments section.